Welcome to The Woman in the Work. I'm your host, Holly Lambrecht, and I'm really glad you're here. This podcast is about the relationship between the woman we're becoming and the work we're building in the world. Because behind every business, every dream, and every big decision, there's quieter work happening within us too. And here, we talk about both. Hello and welcome back. I'm so glad you're here. I've been thinking so much lately after journaling the other day, I needed to share this tidbit, this piece that has been so strong on my heart. And I've had so many conversations with women, and now we're going to have this conversation. It's this part of us that this thought that we become this version of ourselves that we don't even realize that we're becoming or that we have to become over time. This might be hyper independent. You become hyper independent. You don't need anyone. You learn to stay really quiet. Maybe this version of you has become really helpful, strong, productive, easy. And I don't always think that we choose these versions consciously. I think that sometimes life teaches us who we need to be in order to survive. And lately, what I've been wondering is what happens when that version of you has kept you safe, but starts keeping you stuck. For some people, this can go back as far as childhood. Now, in childhood, this can look like you maybe just learned to be the responsible one. Maybe you learned not to ask for help. Maybe you even learned that being needed made you feel really valuable. For me, I was always a really loud person. I entered a room and I was the loudest. And I internalized when people would say that. And so people would say things like, geez, you're just so loud, or your voice carries, or don't be so loud. And inside, what my body decided then was, Holly, it's not time to talk anymore. It's time to be quiet. And so then we stop talking. And maybe this looks like learning to be needed. Maybe that's how you feel valuable. And that can look like many different things in your life. This could look like when you become a mother, if you are a mom. There's parts of being a mom that you go into survival mode because you now are caring for another child, for another human. And I think for me, part of survival looked like productivity. If I kept moving, I was untouchable. If I kept moving, it meant that I was being productive. It meant that I was doing everything for everyone, and no one could say that I was lazy. No one could say that I wasn't doing enough. If I kept helping other people, then I was always making a difference. And if I was helping others, then I was putting people before myself, which is what I've always done. And if I kept building, if I keep building this or that, whatever that looks like, then I didn't have to feel. I didn't have to sit long enough to feel anything happening underneath. Sometimes what we call personality started as protection. And I think this is where things start to feel really heavy because protection over time becomes really exhausting because the things that once protected us eventually start costing us. Here are some examples. Independence. When you become hyper independent or just independent, you want to do everything on your own. What this has looked like for me has meant not needing anyone ever. I do not ask for help. I don't ask for support. Even if in my heart and soul, my body is like, you need something more for help. You can't do this on your own anymore. Holly, you need something different. But independence over time creates isolation because you don't lean on people. You don't lean on other people, on community, on friends, on family. You don't lean on your spouse. And that independence for me has created resentment. It's created like a whole slew of things over time because what happens is now I'm like, I don't need anyone. I am just going to do it on my own. And man, that is just lonely because we're not meant to do things on our own. We're meant to do them in community and in family and in groups, not alone. Another protection for me has been people pleasing. Have you ever struggled with people pleasing? People pleasing can look like a variety of things for different people. Now, people pleasing in my life has looked like really always making sure that the people around me come before myself. And so when I go to send a message, is this going to affect the other person? When someone asks me for help, when someone asks me to do something, I just do it, even if it drains my energy and my capacity. And over time, that creates resentment for the people who have asked for that help because instead of using boundaries, I just always said yes. And over time, that's creating more exhaustion, right? And we move into a couple others that I have here. Productivity. Oh man, could I be the queen of productivity? And most of my life, I have been. Man, I could wake up and I could get so much done. And I was proud of that. I was proud to tell people that. I used to work overnight and during the day. And then I would still go to work and work a normal 40-hour a week plus job. And then sometimes even had a third job. I was proud of that. It truly leads to complete burnout and a burnout type of exhaustion that like you can't sleep off. And I think that's the hardest part of this type of exhaustion is no amount of sleep pulls you out of it. And I'll touch on one last one, and that's being strong. And not the strong of I go to the gym and I lift weights and so I'm strong. The strong of I don't need your support because I'm strong, but I'm strong. I am mentally strong. I am capable. I can do this all on my own. But sometimes what happens is externally, then people are like, well, she's got this. She doesn't need my support. And then people don't ask, they don't lean in, they don't reach out. All of those things lead to another level of exhaustion. So, yes, they protect us because they keep us safe. That's what our bodies have learned over time. I wonder how many women are exhausted, not because they're weak, but because they're carrying versions of themselves they don't need anymore. I am not tired because I'm failing. I'm tired because I've been surviving for a long time. I think healing sometimes looks less like becoming someone new and more like asking this question: who am I without survival? I've had this question come up in my soul many times, and I share this with you because if I hadn't started doing somatic work with my somatic practitioner, Jamie, in the last year, I don't think I would ask myself this question. If I didn't hit a point of, I can't feel this way anymore, I wouldn't be where I am now. And when I think about who I am without survival, there's a part of me that is actually kind of questions, will I like her? Will other people like her? And then I think, I don't care if they like her because she is arriving and she deserves to be here. Some of the other questions I ask myself is, who am I without proving? Who are you? If you stop proving that you're worthy and you just become worthy, who are you? Who are you without overworking, without being needed? If you choose to rest, and who are you when you're not performing safety anymore? And I just want to pause for a second because those can be some really heavy questions. But I encourage you to sit in those questions for a second and really think about, who are you without those things? And do you even know who she is? I have not fully met Holly without survival. And that's because we want to keep her inside and safe. And I also just need to share that I don't think that we're supposed to hate these versions of ourselves that got us here. I truly think we need to thank them because they have helped us survive. They have gotten us to where we are. And they've kept us so safe. But maybe they don't need to lead the story anymore. I think some versions of us are tired. They are just as tired as we are. So maybe today, instead of asking, why am I like this? Ask yourself this: what versions of me learned this? And is she protecting me or leading me? You're not broken. Maybe you are just carrying patterns that once kept you safe. And maybe you get to put some of them down. Thank you for spending this time with me. Remember, the work you're doing in the world is always connected to the work happening within you. And here, we take care of both the woman and the work. I'll see you in the next one.